The movie begins with a chilling scene. A young woman named Mel claws her way out of a grave, desperate to escape. But before she can get far, a shadowy figure wielding a pickaxe appears. Terrified, Mel pleads for her life, but her cries are silenced as he strikes her down. The story then shifts to the present. A group of 5 friends are on a road trip, traveling through the same area where Mel vanished. Among them is Clover, Mel's sister, determined to uncover what happened. The others join to support her: Max, Clover's ex-boyfriend, Na and her boyfriend Abe, and Megan, a girl with mysterious psychic abilities. Their journey leads them to a small roadside store, the very spot where Mel recorded her final video. In the clip, Mel speaks to Clover, admitting how much she misses their late mother and how she feels the need to leave home to ease her pain. Sensing an opportunity to connect with Mel's energy, Megan suggests a psychic ritual. The group links hands, but before Megan can finish, the moment is shattered by the blaring horn of a passing truck. Inside the store, Clover shows the cashier a photo of Mel and asks if he's seen her. The man's response is grim. Mel isn't the only one missing. Dozens of people have vanished after entering a place known as Glore Valley. His warning is clear: those who go in rarely return. Meanwhile, outside, Abe confronts the others. He believed this trip was only to retrace Mel's final steps, but Clover's true intent becomes obvious. She won't stop until she finds her sister. Abe warns that searching for missing people in cursed places usually ends badly. Despite his concerns, Clover insists she knows where Mel disappeared. Reluctantly, the group follows her deeper into the wilderness. Storm clouds gather as they drive through twisted forest roads. No matter which way they turn, they end up circling the same path. Na suggests retreating, but Abe stubbornly refuses. Suddenly, the car emerges into a strange clearing. The weather shifts, bright and calm on one side, yet dark and stormy just beyond. Ahead stands a mysterious old house, isolated and eerie. The group hesitates, but decides to investigate. Clover lingers outside, unsettled by the unnatural border between storm and sunlight. Max stays behind with her, while Abe, Na, and Megan push forward into the house. Inside, they find relics frozen in time. Dusty furniture, eerie trinkets, and a sand timer bolted to the wall, still filled with untouched grains. The air feels heavy, as though the house itself is waiting. At a dusty table inside the house, Na discovers a large registry book. Curious, she writes her name inside, but as she flips through the pages, her blood runs cold. One of the entries belongs to Mel. The handwriting begins neat, but quickly turns messy and frantic, as if Mel had been panicked while writing. This chilling discovery confirms the worst. Mel had been here. Meanwhile, Abe documents everything with his phone. On a nearby wall, he finds a faded poster filled with photos of missing persons. Among them is Mel's picture, staring back at him like a ghost. Outside, Clover suddenly spots a figure in the storm. It looks exactly like Mel. Without hesitation, she bolts after it, vanishing into the raging downpour. Max chases her down and pulls her back, just as darkness settles over the eerie compound. When the group regathers, they try to make sense of what's happening. Suddenly, Na notices something terrifying. The sand timer on the wall has flipped on its own, its grains slipping away as though marking a countdown. Before they can process it, a loud bang echoes outside. Rushing to investigate, they're horrified to see their car has somehow been moved, pushed entirely into the storm side of the boundary. Panic sets in. With no escape, they retreat back inside the house. With their phones useless and no signal, Clover insists there must be another way to contact the outside world. Na and Abe keep watch by the windows, while Max, Clover, and Megan descend into the basement. The lights flicker, shadows stretch unnaturally. Megan uses her phone's flashlight, its shaky beam cutting through the dark. Clover finds a dusty landline phone, but it's dead. Nearby, Megan discovers an old radio, but all it produces is a shrill screech and bursts of static, like something trying to break through. Upstairs, a thunderous crash rattles the house. Abe goes to check, but he never returns. Na follows and flips on the light, only to be met with a nightmare. Abe's body lies grotesquely severed in half, a monstrous figure standing over him. Na's blood-curdling scream rips through the house. Max arrives just in time to find both Abe and Na dead. Horror-stricken, he flees back to the others. The survivors huddle together as the creature stalks the halls. Its shadow glides behind them, massive and silent. In a desperate burst of courage, Max lunges and attacks, but his strike lands with no effect. The creature barely flinches. The masked figure wastes no time. It snatches a jagged wooden shard and drives it straight into Max's eye, killing him instantly. Blood pours as his body collapses to the ground. Hiding nearby, Megan presses herself against the closet wall, trembling. But the creature finds her. It yanks her out by her hair and with terrifying strength smashes her face against the floor over and over until she goes limp. Clover, fueled by rage and fear, lunges at the monster with a knife, stabbing it again and again. But the blade does nothing. The figure doesn't even flinch. Panicked, Clover bolts into the stormy woods. Through the rain and lightning, she spots a shadowy figure. It looks just like Mel. For a brief moment, hope fills her, but that hope costs her dearly. The masked killer strikes from behind, impaling Clover with brutal force. She falls, lifeless, to the ground. Inside the house, the sand timer runs out. Its final grain drops. Then, with an eerie shudder, it flips over and resets. The nightmare begins again. The group suddenly finds themselves alive once more, yet their bodies still bear the bloody wounds of their deaths. In the room with the missing persons poster, fresh photos of all of them now appear, plastered on the wall like grim trophies. Megan clutches her head as her psychic senses flare violently. She can feel the dark energy swelling inside the house, stronger than ever. Panic sets in. Abe urges them to escape before it's too late. But Na shakes her head, her voice trembling. She reminds them that they were all just slaughtered moments ago. Even worse, she's discovered her own name written twice in the registry book, just like Mel's. The night itself is looping, trapping them inside. The house responds to their fear. The lights flicker, plunging rooms into momentary darkness. A heavy door slams open and shut repeatedly, as if some invisible hand is testing it. Abe braces his body against it, holding it shut, while Max jams it with a piece of furniture. Then, through the chaos, they hear it. Mel's voice, faint and desperate, crying out for help. Clover's heart twists. Ignoring the others' warnings that it could be a trap, she rushes outside. But instead of finding Mel, she comes face to face with a strange new building, one that hadn't been there before. Before she can resist, an unseen force drags her toward it, while the others are violently pushed back into the main house. The door slams shut and lock, separating them. Max tries to fight his way out, determined to save Clover, but Abe restrains him, accusing him of caring more about Clover than the group's survival. Tension explodes between them, pulling the survivors further apart. Meanwhile, Clover wakes up inside the eerie building. The walls are lined with grotesque masks staring down at her. An old woman sits nearby, her breath hissing through an oxygen tank, listening to a distorted news broadcast about a disaster that destroyed an entire town. Clover panics and claws at the locked door, but there's no escape. The woman rises, moving with unnatural calm.
She tells Clover there's only one way out: survive the night or become part of it forever. Then, with chilling precision, the woman grabs a mask and forces it over Clover's face. Clover thrashes and screams as the mask seals itself tight. She suffocates, her body writhing in agony, until her eyes go still. In that final moment, the woman's body crumbles into ash. Clover stands in her place, now possessed by the mask. Abe and Nana manage to reach their car, but just as hope sparks, it vanishes. A giant creature blocks their path. They scramble to escape, but the doors suddenly lock on their own. Trapped, they can only scream as the masked figure appears and slaughters them both without mercy.
Meanwhile, Max stumbles into the mysterious house. Inside, the room feels frozen in time. Old toys scattered on the floor, and a chair swaying gently back and forth, as if someone invisible had just been sitting there. For a brief moment, Max relaxes, thinking he is safe. But then, out of the shadows, Clover appears, her face now hidden behind a mask. She slashes him viciously. As Clover steps outside, blood still dripping from her weapon, a Jeep suddenly roars to life on its own. It slams into her, sending her flying. The sand timer resets. Once again, time rewinds back to the beginning. But now, something new stands in the yard, a water tank that wasn't there before. The group quickly realizes their actions are triggering these changes, shaping their deaths each time. Desperate, they lock every door and cram into one of the bathrooms, hoping to wait it out. Clover tells the others what the old woman had whispered before. They need to survive until dawn. Max thinks aloud, maybe that's all they need to do, just make it through the night alive. But if they fail, they might be trapped in this nightmare forever. Then things turn darker. Abe starts coughing violently, trying to hide it with the bathroom curtain. But the coughs grow worse, until, with a sickening blast, his body explodes, spraying blood and guts everywhere, some of it straight into Nay's mouth. Panicked, she rushes to the sink, desperate to wash it out. But Megan stops her, pointing at the sink. "The water! It's the water!" Too late. Nay's body twists, convulses, then she explodes just like Abe. The others freeze in terror. All of them drank the same water. One by one, they'll share the same fate. They burst out of the bathroom, racing into the living room, but already Megan is coughing. Moments later, she erupts in a horrific shower of gore, her body collapsing to the floor. Now only Clover and Max remain. Clover, shaking and pale, begs him through tears. "I don't want to go out like that. Please, choke me to death. If I die by your hands, I'll come back. We can try again, make a better plan." She points to the registry book, where names are repeated again and again. Others have done this before. There is hope. But Max hesitates. His hands tremble. He can't bring himself to do it. And before he can change his mind, his chest bursts open. He explodes right in front of Clover, leaving her drenched and alone. Then, from the shadows, a man calmly steps into the room. It's the cashier from the store, the one Clover had spoken to earlier in the trip. He looks at her with pity and says, "You almost made it, but you can't survive by sitting still." Before she can respond, Clover's head shakes violently, then explodes, ending her attempt in an instant. Once everyone is dead and the sand timer resets, the nightmare begins again. But this time, something is different. Megan notices a strange change in her body. She's growing an extra tooth. The group realizes the resets aren't harmless. Each cycle leaves scars, slowly twisting them into something else. Clover points out what's becoming obvious. Waiting out the timer doesn't work. They can't just sit back and hope to survive until dawn. They need answers. They begin searching through the house, digging for anything that could explain the horrors around them. Clover stumbles upon a box filled with different IDs belonging to the store owner. Each one carries a different name, but the same face, Dr. Hill. Abe finds an old newspaper article describing a mining disaster that struck Glore Valley 20 years ago. The report says miners dug too deep, triggering a catastrophic collapse that killed over 1,000 people. To help the traumatized survivors, a trauma specialist, Dr. Hill, was brought in. But the town itself was buried in the disaster, its ghosts and grief never laid to rest. When reading, Naina notices a door tucked away in a corner. Could it be an escape? She cracks it open, but what lies beyond is a writhing void, terrifying and unnatural. Shaken, she slams it shut. The group agrees they'll keep searching. Megan voices what they're all thinking. Whoever controls this nightmare is feeding off their fear. Then Max discovers an old VHS tape. When they play it, the static clears to reveal a man trapped inside a lab. He's banging on the glass, begging to be let out. A cold voice narrates in the background. It's the doctor, documenting the case. The patient, he explains, is showing signs of starvation, muscle decay, and most importantly, overwhelming fear, anxiety, and hopelessness. The doctor adds that the trauma of the mining disaster never died, it spread. Anyone trapped here becomes consumed by fear, and in time, they mutate into creatures known as Wendigos. Suddenly, the radio crackles to life. Dr. Hill's voice cuts through the static. He tells them there is a way out, but it comes with a cost. One of them must die for the others to escape Glore Valley. Clover's face hardens. She refuses to accept that choice. She won't sacrifice anyone. Instead, she searches through more files and finds a map of the town, its ruins marked with old landmarks. She traces one location, realizing it might be where Dr. Hill is hiding. She calls into the radio, demanding to meet him face to face. At first, Hill resists. Then he agrees, but only on one condition. She must come alone. Abe thinks it's worth the risk. They only have 4 nights left, and the registry shows that no one before them has survived past the 13th cycle. They're running out of time. But when Hill taunts Clover by saying he's not alone, he's with her missing sister, Mel. Her determination solidifies. No matter what the danger, she has to go. The argument over Clover leaving continues. Most of them try to stop her, but Abe steps in. He reminds them they can't keep dying over and over again. If meeting Hill ends the cycle, it's worth the risk. Besides, he points out something painful. Clover has already tried to end her own life twice this year. As he speaks, Naina snaps. Fueled by anger, she suddenly drives a pickaxe into Abe's chest, punishing him for pushing Clover toward her sister. Horrified, Megan and Max watch as Abe collapses. Nay coldly tells them to go after Clover while she stays behind with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Clover wanders into the woods. The air feels heavier, colder. Suddenly, a hidden trap snaps around her leg, dragging her into the dirt. She struggles, but before she can escape, dark shadows swirl around her and pull her into the blackness. At the same time, Megan and Max search the woods with a flashlight. Something wet drips on Megan's shirt. She looks up and freezes. A Wendigo clings to the branches above, staring down at them. Terrified, they sprint back toward the house. But Megan trips, crashing through a glass panel into an underground, buried house. Max reaches down to pull her out, but the Wendigo leaps, seizing Megan and dragging her screaming body into the shadows. Max is left shaken, alone. He stumbles deeper into the forest and finds Clover, still alive but stuck in the trap. Then, out of the shadows, her sister Mel emerges, but she's no longer human. She's become a Wendigo. Before Mel can strike, Max grabs a nearby mousetrap and slams it on her face, buying just enough time for him and Clover to break free and run. But Clover knows there's no escaping. She begs him to kill her, promising she'll come back in the next cycle and fix things. Tears in his eyes, Max finally agrees and slashes her. Now, left completely alone, Max stumbles through the dark woods. He drinks from a puddle of water, only for his body to swell and explode in front of Mel. The cycle resets again. Clover wakes up, but this time something is different. Abe feels a strange sensation crawling across his back. He's mutating. To keep him calm, the others lie and tell him he's fine. Clover asks how many nights they've been trapped here. Max guesses 4, but Nana corrects him. It's been 13 nights. She warns Clover to check the registry. No one has ever made it past night 13. If they want to escape, they must survive this one. Clover opens a window and gasps. Strange, gloomy houses now surround them, houses that weren't there before. Nobody remembers what happened in the last cycle, or the one before that. Mel is gone and everyone's memories are fading, except Abe. He has been secretly recording everything on his phone. They watch the footage together. In one video, a claw rakes across Clover's face, transforming her into a monster. Other clips reveal how they've died countless times before. The final video shows Megan following Dr. Hill, desperate to learn the truth and escape. Suddenly, a siren blares outside. The group rushes to the window and they see them, Wendigo, swarming the building. Grabbing whatever weapons they can find, they finally open the door they've always feared. Instead of death, they find a hidden tunnel leading into the sunken village. The ruins of Glore Valley stretch before them, eerie and lifeless. They sneak into a crumbling building and spot a Wendigo scavenging human remains. The group stays frozen, waiting for it to leave. But another Wendigo finds them. Clover reacts fast, slamming her pickaxe into the creature, pinning it long enough for the others to escape. They rush into another room when suddenly a masked creature crashes down through the roof. The masked creature lunges at Clover. Max yells at her to go find Megan, while he stays behind to fight it. With all his strength, Max grabs a hammer and smashes it into the monster's skull, finally killing it. Meanwhile, Clover comes face to face with her sister, Mel. But instead of running this time, Clover accepts the truth. Her sister is gone. With tears in her eyes, she pushes Mel onto a sharp iron rod, ending her life once and for all. Clover then discovers Megan trapped inside a lab. Across from her, a Wendigo is chained to the wall, snarling and thrashing. Clover searches desperately for a key and steps into another room, only for Dr. Hill to lock her inside. Through the glass, Dr. Hill studies Clover's patient file. He tells her she's a fascinating subject. He lists her struggles: severe depression, crippling anxiety, and 2 failed suicide attempts. Then he reveals the truth. Every monster she's been fighting is actually a manifestation of her own fears. But while Hill talks, Clover is already plotting. She quietly places his coffee mug under a leaking pipe, letting water drip into it. When she hands it back, Hill drinks without noticing. At the same time, outside the lab, Abe, Nay, and Max are being hunted by Wendigos. Megan watches in terror as the chained creature in front of her begins to break free. Hill suddenly realizes what Clover has done, but it's too late. His body twists and swells before exploding violently. Clover seizes the moment, grabs the key, and unlocks Megan's cell. Together, they slam the door shut behind them and run. But the nightmare isn't over. More Wendigos burst out of the shadows, chasing them as the final seconds tick away. Just when it seems hopeless, Clover and Megan spot an opening and sprint toward it. Max and the others are waiting there, pulling them to safety. And then, for the first time, the timer doesn't restart. The endless storm above them clears. The sky returns to normal. The nightmarish loop is broken. Outside, Abe is already in the car, yelling for everyone to get in. Exhausted, they all climb inside. Finally, it's time to leave this cursed place behind.